Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you are all well on this stupendous Saturday. That's it. We've made it to the weekend, and I hope you are having a fantastic one. I hope the weekend is half as fantastic as you look, because even at that sort of ratio, you're having a wild one. And I hope you do. You deserve it. You've stuck around here long enough, and that's your payback, to have beautiful times had by all. Anyway, I promised you yesterday, I said, we're going to start talking about other cases, and we do need to. I get it. And we're talking about a case that we have spoken about previously, and we are staying in Idaho, but you need to hear this. You need to hear it, because we're talking about Christopher Tapp. Who is Christopher Tapp? Some of you will know, some of you may not. But for those of you who don't, we'll quickly touch on it. So Christopher Tapp was someone who was wrongfully convicted in Idaho of the murder of a young lady. And basically, he spent 20 years in prison before getting exonerated. And the person who actually did it went to prison. Now, after he sued Idaho, he gets a settlement agreement for $11.7 million, like that Mr. Evil, the little guy with a bald head and a cat. Like him, I don't know how much did he have? Well, he had this dude who looks a little bit like Dr. Evil, $11.7 million in his skyrocket. Well, you'd think that he would be having a wonderful time. Don't really pay for the fact that you've lost 20 years of your life wrongfully, because it was said that it was law enforcement. They basically forced him to admit to a murder that he didn't commit. That was the writing on the wall. But he got out. And you would think that, like I said, 11.7 million in your skyrocket, you're going to have a wonderful time, and you're at least going to make the rest of your life dabby dozy. That's not what happens to Christopher Tapp, though, because sadly, very similar to the fact that his ex-partner had died not long before, he lost his life. Initially, it was said that it was an accident. Not anymore. There we go. Wrongfully convicted Idaho man's Las Vegas death, now a homicide probe. The November death of Las Vegas of a 47-year-old Idaho man who spent 2 decades in prison after he was wrongfully convicted is being investigated as a homicide, the Metropolitan Police Department announced Wednesday. According to police, the Clark County Coroner's Office ruled that Christopher Tapp died of blunt force trauma to the head. Tapp was convicted of rape and murder after the 1996 death of 18-year-old Angie Dodge and spent 21 years behind bars before his release in 2017, and 2 years later he was exonerated. So even that took him 2 fucking years. Police in Las Vegas said they were made aware on November 22nd of a suspicious death after an October 29th response in the 3000 block of Las Vegas Boulevard South. They said Wednesday that emergency crews had responded on October 29th to a call for service about a man, later identified as Tapp, suffering from injuries from a purported accident. Tapp was hospitalized and died on November the 5th. Remember the 5th of November. Gunpowder, treason, and Tapp. Homicide detectives investigated and learned that Tapp had been in an altercation inside a room at a resort before he was taken to the hospital. This is still an ongoing investigation, a Metro spokesperson wrote in an email in response to a question about whether police believe Tapp's death has anything to do with his legal ordeal in Idaho. After Tapp filed a lawsuit in federal court against the city of Idaho Falls in 2020, he told the Idaho Falls-based Post-Register newspaper that he was hoping for a new start. I'm hoping that this nightmare will come to an end. It did. Tapp said at the time, I've been living it for the last 23 years of my life. In 2021, another Idaho man, Brian Lee Drips, pleaded guilty to Dodge's rape and murder. There we go. The city of Idaho Falls agreed to a settlement of $11.7 million with Tapp, according to the Death Penalty Information Center. So you would think, like I said, as aforementioned, you would think that after that, your life would be set up, wouldn't you? Set up for life. But cut tragically short. Could a guy's life be any more tragic than that of poor Christopher Tapp? And I do genuinely mean that. And his family, those who he is survived by. It's sad. And that's why when we talk about things like the Idaho 4 case, and we do seem to be sticklers for this innocent until proven guilty. Let's make sure that we've got the right person. And some people will go on as far to say, we would rather a guilty man walk than an innocent man be sent down a river. And I know that's a controversial statement, but can you imagine? Think about this guy. And he ain't the only one. He's not the only one in Idaho. It happens. And not just Idaho. This ain't about picking over the bones of Idaho. This is saying that people get wrongfully convicted. This case, Christopher Tapp, that was a DNA issue that would lead to his incarceration. You could argue that DNA and the way in which that is handled nowadays is very different back 20 odd years ago. And perhaps if things were as they are now, it wouldn't have happened. But who knows? Because people do get wrongfully convicted all the time. It's not like nobody's been wrongfully convicted in the last 20 years. That's just not correct. But anyway, there you have it. Christopher Tapp, a man who was indeed wrongfully incarcerated. He then got out. He then got a payout, or was supposed to get a payout, but got knocked out, off the planet, gone. The world is a messed up place, and all we can do is do our best to get through it together. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch you all in the next one.